Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1990's Represent. We're still in our fourth cycle of 1992, talking about a movie. In this episode, we're talking about A League of Their Own, the baseball film about, I'm probably going to mispronounce the name, not mispronounce it, it's a long acronym, so I'm actually just bring my notes up here really quick, about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. All right, there we are. So, very good baseball movie. Saw this kind of when it came out. It was at a local theater. I don't think I saw it until like September or so of 1992. The theater it played at it only had at the time only had two screens, and they would oftentimes either just not get movies at all, like certain films would never show up, or they would show up somewhat late. So this one came out. I think let me take a look at my notes here. Released July 1st, 1992. We got it at our theater a couple months late. But I remember we all went to go see it. Had a really good time watching it. It had been a while since I had seen it. I want to say it's probably been, at least, don't know how long ago it was. It wasn't streaming, so I ended up just renting it. But like a while ago, I watched it. It's probably been at least like 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago. So it's definitely been a while. And certain parts of the movie I had completely like forgotten about. But we'll get to that once we get to the plot of the film. But just really a really good ensemble cast. You have Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell Rosie O'Donnell, just to name a few. I think this is the first movie I saw. John Lovitz is also in this. Probably the first movie I remember seeing him in. First movie I think I saw Rosie O'Donnell in. Who else was it? Maybe a first? Not really sure who else. I hadn't seen in anything before this. Gina Davis, I had seen her in Beetlejuice. Up to this point, Tom Hanks, I saw him in maybe Big. This is like 2 years or like a year before he really like started taking on like some incredibly serious roles. Like year later did Philadelphia. Year after that did Forrest Gump. Year after that Apollo 13. So this was kind of he was already somewhat established, but then he became like kind of like took it to the next level like acting wise like a year after this into like well into the 2000s, well into the current times as well, going into like Castaway and a bunch of other just really good films, but really good Tom Hanks role. Just the iconic "There is no crying in baseball" line. His acting is really good in this. Like I said, Gina Davis is good in this. Lori Petty. This may have been the first movie I saw of her as well. She was in Point Break prior to this, but I don't remember if I had seen Point Break on HBO before or after I saw League of Their Own. I'm not really sure on that. But if it wasn't my first Lori Petty movie, it was definitely like the second, because Point Break and then this. But just a really fun baseball movie. Don't know where I rank it in my all-time baseball movies. Probably if I had to pick like my all-time favorite, it's probably going to be The Sandlot, maybe, which we'll definitely get to at some point on the series. I think I have 1993 kind of planned out for the next film, but so it won't be in this cycle. But The Sandlot is definitely a film I would want to cover on the series when we get around to it. So yeah, Sandlot's up there. Field of Dreams is up there. The first major league. Um, I would have to go through and see which like baseball movies I've seen. Moneyball, more recent being like what 2011. Moneyball is a really good baseball movie. More about like the management side of the game because it's about like Brad Pitt's character. Kind of think it's based on a true story, but basically going through him and Jonah Hill like doing like the more of like the management side of baseball. I don't even think they're even like the managers of the team, but it's like we want to like they're basically doing all like the hiring and like they're like we'll trade for this guy to get this guy. Moneyball's really good. But anyway, back to A League of Their Own. I got my notes here. We're going to go through those and then we'll discuss the plot and all that as well. So, again, a fictionalized retelling or story set within the real All American Girls Professional Baseball League, established during World War II when men's baseball was kind of on hold temporarily during World War II. The film came out very commercially successful as well as critically successful. Had a $40 million budget and ended up grossing about 132.4 million. Directed by Penny Marshall, and according to my research, she was inspired to make this after seeing a documentary. I think the documentary was also called A League of Their Own, but a 1987 documentary about this league, and then got in contact with the people that had the idea for the documentary, people that worked on it, to help write a screenplay for this film. Apparently, it was offered. The screenplay was initially offered to Fox. They passed on it, and then it went to Sony, and I think it's under their Columbia Pictures brand. Apparently, some casting. So Demi Moore was initially um, considered for the role of Dottie, which is Gina Davis's role. I think though they ended up not going with her because I think, according to my research, she was pregnant by the time they started production. Deborah Winger was also initially cast as Dottie after he couldn't get Demi Moore, and I think like she went through like all the training processes to like all the baseball training and dropped out of the film just like a few weeks before shooting. And it was apparently something to do, according to my research, according to or something to do with the fact that Madonna got cast and then Deborah Winger just kind of backed out after Madonna was cast. I don't know. I didn't like the research didn't go into detail of why, but that's just kind of very interesting. Madonna's actually like really good in this movie as well. She's done like some acting roles, and I think it's probably not. I don't know if it's one of her better roles, but I think like she works well with the ensemble cast, especially the chemistry between her and Rosie O'Donnell, because I think their characters are supposed to have like a history together, like they know each other from before going to the like training camp, and like their chemistry is just really good. The chemistry between Gina Davis and Tom Hanks also very good. Chemistry between Lori Petty and Gina Davis also really good as well. Apparently, there was a bunch of actual injuries during the filming. So let's see. I think it said, according to my research, Lori Petty apparently broke her foot during filming. The bruise, I forget the character and the actress's name, but she slides into a base and they have like her. She's got this huge bruise on her leg. Apparently, that bruise is actually real. In the movie, it shows them like taking a picture of it. But yeah, that was apparently real. Apparently, Anne Ramsey broke her nose, like going for a catch at one point. There's a quote from Gina Davis I want to bring up. I think she was on, I think, with Bob Costas at the movies. Let me just look it up here because I had it saved. Let me see here. Yeah, so Gina Davis was on the Costas at the movies. This was in 2013, and her quote was, "quote Some of our real cast, from sliding into home, had ripped the skin off their legs. It was nutty." So basically, like that's kind of like the bruise you see in the film comes from a slide, but basically a lot of real injuries due to just like them doing various like baseball stuff on film and actually getting injured in the process. Let's see. We have the Gina Davis quote there. Interesting thing is, I think it's called Harvey Field in the movie because Gary Marshall's character, the guy who basically runs the candy bar company that's putting on the league, his name is Harvey. I can definitely tell just by seeing like the layout of the field and like the outside of it that it was Wrigley Field. So they basically repurposed Wrigley Field for some of those scenes. You can just tell by like the ivy and then like the infield that it's definitely Wrigley Field. So Wrigley Field was used for that. The soundtrack put out a CD, and Madonna has the song in the closing credits. This used to be my playground. Apparently, that song was not included on the actual soundtrack. It's in the film, but not on the soundtrack due to some kind of contractual issues. Kind of reminds me of recently with the Deadpool and Wolverine film. They used Like a Prayer in the trailer and in the film, but apparently initially on the soundtrack, it was not part of the soundtrack, probably for similar reasons. I think she eventually released that version as a single to go along with the Deadpool movie. But this used to be my playground. Plays over the closing credits of the film, but not included on the soundtrack. There were two spin-off TV series. I knew of one of them. I didn't know there was a more recent one. But in 1993, there was a very short-lived. I think there's like 6 episodes filmed, and only 5 of them were ever like shown. But TV series based on the movie. I remember watching like a few of the episodes. I don't remember it being particularly memorable. I don't even know if it's even available to watch anywhere. I'll have to check that out. And then apparently on Amazon there was a 2020 series that lasted for like a season. That one I didn't know about until I was doing my research for this episode here. So I knew about the 1993 one, didn't know about the 2021. And now we're going to get into the plot of the film. So basically, the basis of the plot is our ensemble cast are all on, mostly all of them are on the Rockford Peaches, in this league. They basically it plays out over the course of one season. It culminates in their World Series. But beginning of the film, it's modern times, and they are going to they're opening an exhibit at the Baseball Hall of Fame for the women in this league. Gina Davis's character, Dottie, like an older version of her, doesn't really want to go to it. She gets on the bus anyway. They pull up to the field, and it then does a kind of a fade out to the actual film. The actual film starts off in Oregon. I think it's in Oregon. Basically, Dottie and Kit are on the same baseball team. They're sisters. They work on their parents' like dairy farm or something like that. And they play baseball. Dottie can't hit high fastballs, so she strikes out. Gina Davis's or Dottie basically wins the game. Everybody kind of makes fun of Kit for not being able to hit the ball. Everybody is obviously like the whole thing of Kit is she's basically living in Dottie's shadow, more or less the entire film, and it's more about like nobody like really taking her seriously and all that. So. They're milking some cows. John Lovitz's character comes up, he's a baseball scout, because they're putting together this women's league to have baseball still be a thing while the men's league is on hold due to World War II. But Gina Davis's character is initially not interested in going. Kit really wants to go, but John Lovitz is like, no, I'm not here for you. I'm here for her, the one that actually hit the ball. And John Lovitz's character is just very deadpan in this movie. Very funny, but also just kind of a jerk. Like, not kind of, is a jerk. But he puts his arm on Lori Petty's shoulder. Like he's like, hey, like, don't worry about it. Like, this isn't like your thing. And then he's like, her arm is really strong. He's like, so you're a pitcher? And so she's like, yeah. He's like, I'll make you a deal. If your sister goes, if Dottie goes, you can come along too. So they're going to tryouts in Chicago. They stop by another gym, and they're looking at this is when Marla joins them. Marla very good, but John Lovitz's character is against bringing her along due to her looks, and the two sisters are essentially like, if you don't take her, you don't take us. So they bring Marla along. They get to Chicago. They do the tryouts. They also this is when Tom Hanks' character. Tom Hanks, I forgot that he's not introduced into the film until like a decent chunk into the movie, and he's like basically like an alcoholic, former baseball player that injured his knee, which was his fault apparently. He's like, well, I fell out of. He's like, yeah, you broke. Gary Marshall's like, well, you fell out of that hotel because there's a fire in the hotel that you created. And basically, he's, like later in the film, he's like, well, I threw away the last 5 years of my career, due to drinking, and like I wish I like hadn't done that. That's a little bit later, but they bring him in as the manager for the Rockford Peaches. They go through the tryouts. We meet May and Doris, I think, are the two characters. That's Rosie O'Donnell and Madonna's characters. Basically, all the characters that we meet that are named essentially all end up on the Rockford Peaches. So we go through the tryouts. They get assigned to the Rockford Peaches. They have to go to I think it's called Beauty and Charm School. So that's like a whole montage with that. They get their team ready. Jimmy is Tom Hanks' character, shows up to the game basically like either drunk or hungover, and they play the game. They win the game, and he's just like, well, like, and he doesn't really care initially because Gary Marshall at first is like, you just gotta show up, smile, like wave, and you're done. But then they win the game. Um, the guy running the league, I think it's like Ross. It's not Rossi. I had to bring up it's David Strathairn's character. I had to bring up the cast here really quick to see. Yeah, David Strathairn is Ira Lowenstein, and he's the person that basically is in charge of running the league and keeps the league running because eventually there's talk of shutting the league down once the war ends, and he doesn't really want the league to be shut down, so he basically runs the league for however long the league was like in operation. But he's talking to Tom Hanks, and he's like, "Hey, like, I couldn't tell if you were." I think his line is like, "I couldn't tell if you were drunk or dead until you like were scratching yourself during the like seventh inning or whatever." There's a part where Tom Hanks is using like a like bathroom, and they time him. It's kind of one of the funnier little jokes in the film. But they go through the various like a lot of like baseball montages. One of the players wants to eventually bring her kid along. It's her name is Stillwell, who's just kind of insane, drives everybody crazy. The bus driver quits, and then Tom Hanks' character has to drive them to like the next city. Eventually, this is when there's talk of the league being closed down because Harvey is talking to Lowenstein. Is that what it was? I just forgot the name already. Yeah, Lowenstein. He's like talking to Lowenstein about shutting the league down, but that eventually doesn't happen. They continue. There's at one point where they actually poison their chaperone. Like actually, like she's like very violently ill. They go to a roadhouse like saloon. They're dancing. Gina Davis's character eventually shows up, and she's like, "Hey, we got to get out of here." And they're like, "Oh, is the lady like better?" She's like, "No, it's not her. It's Lowenstein. If he finds us here, we're all gonna get fired." So they go back to the hotel. Marla eventually gets married to somebody that she was singing to at the Roadhouse. I think she like leaves like partway through the season because when she's getting married, she's like, "I'll see you next season," and she kind of just goes away. But the baseball season continues, and just like a lot of these sports movies, they get kind of into a slump. It's a very short bit of the movie. This is kind of when I think they still win the game, but Gina Davis tells the coach to like, hey, pull Lori Petty from the game because she's not pitching very well right now. And then there's this whole kind of like feud between the two sisters. So one of the kind of like through lines of the film is that they're constantly like I don't want to say they're fighting. They are, but it's like Gina Davis's character doesn't really want to be there initially. Lori Petty's character definitely wants to be in that league more than Gina Davis's character. And eventually there's like a fight between Kit and Doris, I think. And Tom Hanks throws Lori Petty's character into a shower, turns it on. And he's like, stay down there until you cool off. I think at that point, Gina Davis's character is ready to like leave the team, and Lowenstein comes to her to talk about something, and she's like, you have one day to figure this thing out. And then they trade Lori Petty's character to Racine, another team. So they trade her. There's like a huge fight between them. There's like also a slub pot. It's during the war. I think it's Betty's husband dies during the war, and they do the thing where they bring like the courier has like an envelope. He's like, "Oh, I don't know who this is addressed to. I like lost a sheet or something." And Tom Hanks like opens the letter. He's like, they gives it to her, and because like a lot of the people in the league are married, their husbands are at war, so it could have been any of them. And like in the way the lineup in the scene is Gina Davis is sitting right next to the character of Betty. So Dottie is sitting right next to Betty, and Tom Hanks gives Betty the letter that her husband was, killed in war in the war. Shortly after that, Dottie's husband comes back. His name's Bob, played by Bill Pullman, who I think we discussed on this show for Independence Day. He's in this film. I think this is probably the second time I've seen him in a film because I think I saw him in Spaceballs initially, then this, and then I think While You Were Sleeping was after this. I saw that when it came out, and then Independence Day, of course. But Dottie then wants to go home with Bob, basically like quit the game and go home. Tom Hanks' character is kind of like, he's like, like if it was, she's like, well, it's just getting too hard. He's like, well, like, he's like, if it was easy, everybody would do it. It's the fact that it's hard that makes it great. So they get into the World Series against Racine. I think it goes down to like the final game. Gina Davis's character eventually like she's like I got as far as Yellowstone and came back, so she plays the final game, and I think this is the first time I saw this in a sports movie. But the team that we've been following through this entire film ends up losing the final game. I've definitely seen sports movies since then where that's happened as well, where like the team puts in their best effort and it's just not enough and they lose. Um, but in this game, it's Racine versus Rockford. They go down to like goes all the way to the seventh game, bottom of the ninth, kind of like typical sports movie writing where you like it's down to the final play in the bottom of the ninth. It's kind of cliche at this point, but it works pretty well here. So the score is tied up, basically, or it's like Rockford is leading by one. And then there's been predictions. I'll leave a link in the description to check this out because I was kind of wondering, like I'll get to the final play. I'll come back to this, but final play. Dottie goes to the pitcher because now Kit is batting and Kit has a tendency to go after like high fastballs. She's like high fastballs. She can't hit them. She can't lay off of them. Throw those. So she throws two of them. Kit swings at both of them and misses. The third one, Kit actually hits it into the outfield, into like the gap, and basically gets an in the park home run. So like the tying run scores, and now the leading run or the like Kit is now the run that will win the game if they can score. So they throw to the cutoff person. They throw the ball to Dottie, who is at the plate. She gets to the plate, basically has the ball in her hand, gets steamrolled by Kit, and then Gina Davis like Kit goes down, Dottie goes down, and the ball slowly in slow motion rolls out of her hand. Kit is safe, and Racine wins the World Series for their league. There was like theories that like Dottie dropped the ball on purpose, and I think Gina Davis even said like I don't think Dottie would do that because it's kind of like she still like would like to win the game. Let me actually bring it up because I did Google this earlier. Did Dottie drop the ball on purpose? And Gina Davis was, according to a Google thing, it's like it's not clear if Dottie Hinson dropped the ball on purpose in the 1992 movie A League of Their Own. But Gina Davis, who played Dottie, has said that she doesn't think Dottie would intentionally throw a game. Davis has also said that she feels it's an insult to baseball players to suggest that Dottie would drop the ball on purpose. So I kind of agree with that take because if she really wanted to throw the game, I don't think she would have told the pitcher to throw the high end fastballs because she knows that Kit can't hit them and can't resist swinging at them. So I don't really follow that. But the interesting thing, apparently, and this is what I'll leave a link in the description to, is apparently in the original script of the film, it was. Let me actually bring up this post. It's like a. I'll actually read this little line in the script. This is a Reddit post, so I'll leave a link to it in the description. But let me just open this image here, and then I'll be able to read the description of the scene. Is let's see here. Basically, this is the final play of the film. It says both girls go flying. Kit tumbling onto home plate. Dottie goes reeling backward, flipping over. The crowd goes silent. It says there's an angle on Dottie's hands. It says her bare hand holding the ball separates from her glove hand as Dottie lies on her back. The bare hand strikes the ground. After a brief moment, the baseball leaks gently out of Dottie's hand onto the grass. So if it's being leaked gently, it indicate that initially in that version of the script, she was like, Dottie wants this more than I do. Like Dottie never, or yeah, Kit wants this more than I do. Dottie didn't really want to even be in that league to start, and maybe she thinks like, hey, like my sister wants this more than I do. I'm going to just give it to her and like let go of the ball so they win the game. Again, that's apparently in the original script, but probably the script that they were actually filming off of just had it be that Kit wanted it more and knocked the ball loose. In the film, it doesn't look like she like lets go of it intentionally. It looks like it does just slip out because she gets like basically this like steamrolled. So Racine wins the series. Um, then Bob and Dottie basically go back to Oregon. Everybody kind of goes their separate ways, and then it cuts back to the present time, and they're going into the Baseball Hall of Fame, into their like exhibit. Some of the characters have passed away by this time, so like Tom Hanks's character had passed away in 1987. Um, Stillwell's mother had passed away at some point as well. Bob, Dottie's husband, had passed away like the winter before, or like the winter that the film is set in. And it's kind of weird because like I don't know if you would obviously think that Dottie and Kit have seen each other since the end of the league, um, but it's not clear if Dottie had seen any of the other players during that time period. I would think that they would have seen each other, like at least on a handful of occasions, maybe like between the end of the actual like stuff of the past and then flashing forward to the future. I don't really know exactly. But I think it's kind of clear that they hadn't seen Dottie for, a while at that point. And I don't know if she ever saw Tom Hanks' character again after the end of the film, or the end of the baseball part of the film either. That's kind of left up maybe for like interpretation or something like that. But that's the plot of the film. Again, I'll leave a link in the description to check out that Reddit post, but with the original bit of the screenplay. So y'all can take a look at that. It's like somebody took a picture of the script, the original one. So I'll leave a link in the description so you can check that out. That's going to do it for this. Actually, before I get to that, one thing I like about sports movies, and this is a thing I kind of learned in my high school film class. I think we didn't watch the entire thing, but it was the Natural, I think the Robert Redford film. How sports and films are just much more intense than they are if you're just watching it on TV. Because you're watching it on TV, you obviously see the play happen, you see like what goes on, you see if the play like succeeds or fails, if the team wins or loses or whatever. But when you're doing a film, like you are focusing on the players, like you're doing shots cut between like the pitcher staring down the batter, like looking up at the scoreboard or something like that. Then you also cut to the other players on the team. You cut to potentially people in the stands watching. You might even cut to people watching the game on like TV or something like that. So it's definitely it's much more intense. And then like when I watched this film recently, it reminded me of when we kind of studied just that the ending sequence. I think it's the ending sequence in The Natural when Robert Redford explodes the what's it called, the lighting thing. I think it's Robert Redford. Let's see. Yeah, cool. It is Robert Redford. I just want to make sure it was the right actor. But yeah, I think that's the movie where he basically hits the ball up, basically just destroys a bunch of the lights in the stadium. But there's like various cuts between like the various players, the pitcher staring down the batter staring at the pitcher, people watching the game, and so on. There's a lot of that in this movie as well, especially in the ending, the final game of their series. That's my final thoughts on the film. Very fun movie. Highly recommend checking it out. Again, I don't think it's my favorite baseball film. I think I probably will say The Sandlot is. But that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back again in a few days doing either a computer or a video game. And then we'll move into the rest of the decade again after that. So thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.